They thought my lawn was community property. The HOA president said it with a smile, like I should feel honored that strangers treated my backyard like a sidewalk. So I installed something small, legal, and unforgettable. By the time she realized what I'd done, it was already too late completely. When I moved into the neighborhood, I wasn't looking for conflict. I wanted quiet, predictable, manageable. The house sat at the edge of the subdivision where the pavement narrowed and the trees thickened into a preserved greenbelt. My backyard opened into that stretch of nature, and for the first few months, it felt like I had found the perfect balance between structure and solitude. I kept my lawn trimmed, paid my dues, smiled at neighbors. I didn't attend HOA meetings because nothing seemed urgent enough to justify the politics. I believed in staying invisible in communities like that. Invisible meant peaceful. Most evenings, I'd sit on my patio with a glass of iced tea and watch the sun dip behind the trees. No drama. No noise. Just wind moving through leaves. Then a faint dirt line appeared across the corner of my lawn. At first, I assumed it was kids cutting across to reach the walking trail faster. It didn't bother me. Grass grows back. But the line widened. The grass thinned. Footprints multiplied. Soon it wasn't just kids. Adults in jogging shoes. Parents pushing strollers. A man walking his dog who nodded at me as if I'd installed the pathway for convenience. One afternoon, a woman actually knocked on my door. "Your sprinkler hits the path," she said. "You might want to adjust it." I stared at her. "What path?" She pointed to the strip of dirt cutting diagonally across my yard. That night I checked my property survey. The boundary line was clear. The shortcut was entirely on my lot. So I emailed the HOA. The response came quickly and confidently. The route had become informal community access over time and should remain unobstructed in the spirit of neighborhood cooperation. Informal. Community access. Those two words did a lot of heavy lifting. I replied with a copy of my deed and a highlighted survey map. I kept it polite. Asked if there was a recorded easement I wasn't aware of. No response. Instead, 3 days later, a violation notice was taped to my garage door. It cited landscaping interference with common pedestrian flow. Common. On private property. A second notice followed with a warning about escalating fines. That's when I understood something important. They weren't confused. They were confident I wouldn't push back. The HOA president stopped by a week later. She stood at the edge of my lawn, arms folded. "People have always walked there," she said. "You don't want to be that neighbor." That neighbor. The phrase hung in the air like a threat wrapped in a smile. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just started documenting everything. Photos of the foot traffic. Copies of every notice. Screenshots of emails. I pulled the original subdivision filings from the county clerk's office, not the summarized HOA packet, but the actual recorded documents. And that's when I found it. A temporary construction easement. Years old. Expired. It allowed developer access during grading. It had never been converted into a permanent pedestrian easement. There was no legal right for anyone to cross my property. What existed wasn't law. It was habit. So I planned something simple. No confrontation. No dramatic posts in the neighborhood Facebook group. I hired a licensed surveyor to remark the property lines with bright boundary stakes. I applied for a fence permit. Clean. Standard. Completely within municipal guidelines. But that wasn't the surprise. The real surprise was something smaller. Along the exact diagonal path where people had worn the grass down, I installed low-profile landscape lighting, motion-activated floodlights mounted discreetly along the fence line, angled inward across my lawn. Not blinding. Not dangerous. Just bright enough to eliminate anonymity. Every step across that shortcut would now trigger instant daylight at 10 p.m. And just to reinforce clarity, I added a small, tasteful sign near the corner. Private property. No trespassing. Area monitored. The fence went up on a Thursday. By Saturday night, the shortcut lit up like a stage. The first few walkers froze mid-step as the lights snapped on. One jogger stumbled backward. A couple hurried across anyway, but they didn't look comfortable doing it. Sunday morning, someone left a complaint letter in my mailbox accusing me of hostility. Monday, the HOA emailed. They claimed the lighting created disturbance. I replied with city code confirming full compliance. Then something predictable happened. Late Tuesday night, one of the lights was knocked loose. That was the mistake. Because the area monitored sign wasn't decorative. The motion sensors triggered recording as well. The footage showed a familiar figure adjusting their hoodie before stepping onto my lawn and tampering with the fixture. It wasn't a random teenager. It was a board member. I filed a police report for vandalism and attached the footage. I also forwarded a copy to the HOA attorney listed in our bylaws. That triggered an emergency meeting. My name appeared on the agenda under homeowner conduct review. I attended quietly. Documents organized. USB drive in my pocket. The president opened with a speech about community harmony and shared values. She implied I had escalated tensions unnecessarily. When it was my turn, I didn't debate philosophy. I handed copies of the certified survey, the expired easement record, the police report, and finally, the still image from the security footage. The room went silent when the attorney leaned forward. He flipped through each page carefully. Then he paused at the time-stamped photo. He didn't look at me. He looked at the board member seated 2 chairs down. The president tried to pivot, suggesting misunderstandings. But the attorney quietly explained liability exposure. Trespass. Selective enforcement. Potential civil damages. No one shouted. No one needed to. Within 2 weeks, all violation notices were rescinded. The HOA issued a clarification stating that pedestrian traffic should remain on designated common paths only. The board member involved resigned citing personal reasons. The light stayed. The fence stayed. The shortcut disappeared. Grass grows back surprisingly fast when pressure is removed. Now when I sit on my patio in the evenings, it's quiet again. The only motion sensors triggering are for raccoons drifting along the tree line. No one calls me that neighbor anymore. And the HOA president? She waves. Because power doesn't always shift through confrontation. Sometimes it shifts the moment the lights come on.